Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. So finally getting around to putting the keyways in this little arbor that we started on a couple of weeks ago. Things have just been kind of busy and hadn't had a chance to do this, and got a few minutes this afternoon. We're going to go ahead and try to knock these out. So let me zoom you in over here, guys, and we'll let you kind of see the setup we got and talk about what we're going to do. So the first step here is we're going to put a keyway across the top here, and to do this I'm just going to put it in my little vise here, and we'll go ahead and do that. The other one will be a double keyway where they need to be 180 degrees apart, and we're going to use a little different setup for that, but we'll go ahead and get this one in first. Now I'm using this little self-centering vise here that I use a lot of times when I'm doing round stock. So you see we got V grooves in here. There's three different V blocks that are on this, and when you adjust this, both the jaws move in and out together. They're timed, so once you get this kind of set up, you can use different size pieces of material in there, and it'll always be on center. It's a really neat little vise. Every time I use it, I get questions from folks wanting to know about it, and unfortunately I don't really know a lot about it. There's not a name anywhere on this vise. It came with a pallet of vices that I bought at an auction several years ago, and I have found it to be extremely handy and use it quite often. I set this up off camera, and I kind of wish that I had done it on camera now just so you guys can see, but I will just mention a little bit about how we did it. So first thing I did was when we bolted the vise down is I took an indicator, put it in the spindle of the mill, and kind of ran it up and down the shaft to make sure first, that it wasn't running perfectly true like we needed. And then with that done, we put a edge finder in here on the mill, found the edge on both sides of the shaft. I first found it on the back, zeroed out my digital readout, then I found it on the other side of the shaft, looked at my measurement, divided that by 2, and moved it over, and that should have me right in the center of the shaft. So we're ready to go. We got a 1/4 inch end mill in here. We'll go ahead and get this raised up, and I've got a mark back here on the depth, 4 7/8 inches long, and once we get a flat across here, we'll raise the table up 1/8 of an inch, which is half, as we're putting a 1/4 inch keyway, that'll be half of the depth. And whenever you're measuring that, you don't want to measure where you touch off. You want to get the flat basically going across there, and then measure your depth once you have that flat all the way across. So we'll go ahead and get this cut. We need to go a total of 125 thousandths. I'm going to do this, I think, in 2 passes, so we'll do 75 each. Ready now to go ahead and put the double keyway in on this bottom part. So again, we got a 1/4 inch shaft, but it needs to be 2 keyways, our 1/4 inch keyway, 2 keyways exactly opposite one another. And to index that, I've got this little square collet block here. So this just takes a regular old 5C collet, and it's square, so you can turn this in 90-degree increments. So we'll put it in the vise, get everything set up, we'll cut the keyway, and then we'll just flip the whole thing over and do it again, and we should be exactly opposite one another. So right now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and get this centered up. So I've got an edge finder in the mill, and we'll just go ahead and bring that down. So we'll just bring the table into the edge finder, and when it jumps over to one side, right there, that's perfectly flush with the edge of the piece. So I'm going to zero out my DRO at that point. And I usually like to just double check this a couple of times just to make sure I'm in the right place, and that looks good on the DRO one more time. Yeah, we're good. So now to find the center, what we'll do is we'll jump over to the other side. Again, that's zeroed out on my DRO. And we'll do the same thing here. Right there, 1.245. One more time, 1.245, okay. So there you go, you see the measurement on there, 1.2450. So I'm gonna put that on my calculator, 1.245, divide that by 2. I should equal 0.6225. And we will just move this over. Right there. All right, so we got our table locked down now, and we should be right on center using the DRO and the edge finder. All right, everything's centered up, ready to go. We're going to raise the cutter, raise the work up into the cutter until I get that cut all the way around. We're flush right there. And we'll raise the table up and cut our key. All right, so we were getting a little vibration in that I didn't really like with this sticking out. So what I've done is I've come in here and put a little machinist jack under here. I don't have a whole lot of pressure on it. I'm not really trying to raise it up, but I did want to have something just to kind of hopefully take some of that play out of it. So let's see what this does, and we'll give this a try. All right, first keyway is cut, and now we're going to make the double keyway, the opposite keyway. So we'll just pull this out, flip it over, and repeat. So we got the keyway cut. I'm going to come in here with a little deburring tool, and we'll just deburr this around the edge of this, knock off any sharp points. All right, now we're going to take a piece of key stock and just test fit everything, and everything looks good here. We got a good fit on both sides. So I'm very happy with how we've turned out. So we've got the shaft now with all the keyways in it. It's ready to go. Next step here though is we need to put a new broach in here, or new keyway, internal keyway, using my broach set. So I've got a bushing that fits this, but it's not long enough. You see it's only about half the depth, which seems to be a common problem I have. Every time I want to use a broach, I don't ever seem to have the right one, but no problem, we can make one. So we just got a piece of scrap metal in here, looks like just a piece of coal roll, and we'll knock this bushing out. We've got the outside diameter, which will be just the flange around the top of the bushing. I need the depth of the cut here to be about 3 7/8. So I'm just going to put a little witness mark right here for my depth. That'll just give me something to go to. And this outside diameter isn't critical. We're at about 1 inch, 190 thousandths, so I got about in that. The diameter here that will fit down inside the bush, it needs to be just a tad under 1 inch, so I got about 190 thousandths to take off. We'll start by taking 100. I've got a cutter set up over here on my horizontal mill to make a 3/8 inch slot down through here, and I've got my piece, my work in here. I've already got the vise trammed on here where it's running true. So we're about ready to start cutting this, or getting it set up to cut. But I wanted to mention a few things about speeds and feeds. That's one thing I've got a lot of comments about from people, is maybe talking a little bit more about speeds and feeds and how we do it. So on the Kearney Trekker mill, I've actually got this little slide rule speed and feed calculator. Old school, I guess you could say. Now you probably just use a phone app or something to do the same thing. But anyway, I'm going to use this to kind of illustrate how to set this up. So I'm going to zoom you guys into this and kind of let you see the process that I go through to calculate speeds and feeds. So using this little slide rule calculator, there's a couple of things you need to know. First thing you need to know is the diameter of your cutter and how many teeth it has. And I've measured it. It's a 4-inch diameter cutter, and it has 24 teeth around the entire circumference of it. So the next thing I need to know is what type of cutter it is. This is a high-speed steel cutter that I'm using, and this material that I'll be cutting is steel, and I'm going to call it a soft steel. We got a soft, medium, and hard steel here on this little chart. You probably can't read that, but under high-speed steel cutters, soft steel, it's recommending that you have between 100 and 180 surface feet per minute on the cutter. So I'm going to go over here, and putting on this arrow, I'm going to put a 4 on that. That's my cutter diameter in inches right here. And then I'll look down here on the bottom, and it says surface feed per minute. And I want between 100 and 180. And so I'm going to go on the low side. I mean, this is an old machine. I'm not sure exactly how sharp that is. So I'm going to shoot for the around 100. So if you look on here, 100 right here is coming out just a little less than 100 RPMs is what we want to set our cutter for. so a cutter speed, and that again will give us that 100 surface feet per minute. So I've looked at my settings on the mill, and I've got a setting for 93 RPMs, and so that's what we've got it set on. So once we got our speed set, the next thing we want to do is look at our feed rate. And it says over here the feed per tooth for high-speed steel cutters is 8 thousandths. So in other words, as that cutter is turning around, every tooth needs to take about 8 thousandths of an inch. All right, so I'm going to flip it back over here, and what I'm looking at now is my feed rate per minute is 0.8. Our feed per tooth is 0.8 thousandths, which is right here. I'm going to set my RPM up here on the top part. So my RPM is in my number of teeth, so I line up 24 and 100 here. And then I go down the bottom, I find 8 thousandths per tooth, and it's a little less than 20 inches per minute, which is the maximum speed for this. So I can go 20 inches per minute. And again, to be on the cautious side, I'm probably going to bump it down a little bit from that. Again, it's an old machine, and I'm not sure exactly how sharp my cutter is. So I'll probably put it on about 15 inches per minute, which is the next slot down. So anyway, that's how I'm calculating speeds and feeds. Again, using my little Kearney Trekker slide rule here. Again, I'm sure that there are probably apps that you can do. In fact, I've seen some. I just don't have any downloaded on my phone right now, but this works well. So the next step in getting this set up is we need to get the cutter running down the center of this. And on the horizontal mill, it's really a little bit more difficult to come here with an edge finder because my rotation is in a different axis than what it needs to be to find the center in this direction. So I'm going to use a method that has worked well for me. I have shown this before, and we're just going to basically eyeball this. Your eye is a pretty good instrument, so I'm just going to get that kind of close to center, and we'll turn our machine on. Pull this out toward the end a little bit, and I'm going to raise the table up a little bit at a time until I just start touching off. All right, I'm going to have to get a flashlight. All right, so I'm just touching, and I got a little light here, and I can see in there the little mark that I've made. And I'm going to raise it up. What I'm wanting to do is I'm wanting to get a flat across there that's more or less the width of the cutter. Let me come out to the end a little bit more. And I'm looking on both sides, and I'm basically just lining up the edge of my teeth with that flat that I'm milling, and I'm going to move it back and forth until I get it just right. So I can tell it needs to come toward me just a little bit. Come up just a little bit more. And what I'm trying to do here is get the edge of the cutter lined up where when it's flat across there, get it lined up where it's just right there on the edge of the cutter and the edge of the flat are the same, and that's where I'm at now. So that is on center right there, and that's all you have to do to get these centered up. You can do this on a vertical mill as well, and it actually works very well. I've done this many times, and I've always had my keyways fit, and anyway, it works. I'm about ready to go here, so I've got a cool mist going here. Turn on the mill. Again, we're running at about 93 RPMs. I got my feed set to about 15 inches per minute, and we'll see how that goes. If it's chattering, we can always slow it down a little bit. According to the guide, that's actually a little bit slower than what this will take with that cutter diameter and number of teeth. So, man, that's fast. I don't like that. We're going to slow it down some more. I grabbed a couple of chips here and just started measuring them. So this is toward the end of the cut, and it's measuring about 4 thousandths thick. And one of the chips from the beginning of the cut, which were supposed to be 9 thousandths, is about 9 thousandths. So anyway, I've got my feed slowed down where I'm actually taking about a 4 or 5 thousandths chip per tooth, and you know, that seems to be working fine. I think the mill could handle the heavier cut, but I was getting a little bit of chatter, and anyway, I decided to be a little on the conservative side and slow it down. So I'm going to get a quick measurement here on my depth. I didn't go full depth here. So we're at about 280 thousandths, 285 thousandths, and we need to be at 450 thousandths. So I'm going to put my indicator on here, and we'll raise the table up and take that final pass. All right, my depth needs to go another 290 thousandths. So I've got an indicator zeroed out at where we were at 0, or where we were, that last cut was at. That's 100, 290 right there. So that should be a final depth, and we'll go ahead and cut this last pass. Could have taken that all in one cut without any problems with this setup, but I didn't have a good way to measure that to start out with, so I'm doing it in 2 passes, mainly so I can measure my depth, exactly what I'm doing right here. All right, we're going to go ahead and push this broach through. So we got the bushing in here, the broach is in, and obviously we'll go through a couple of times and put some shims behind it to make this bigger as we go. And I'm going to use this air jack. It's the first time I've used this for broaching. I've used this air jack a couple of times. We'll see how this works. All right, we will put a shim behind it and do this again. Well, it's been one of those days, guys, out here in the shop where just can't seem to get anything done. Just full of distractions, I'll just put it that way. We've had a million things that people have come in during the day needing this, needing that, which is fine. That's part of the reason why I'm out here at the museum, is to help out those kinds of things. But we didn't get as far along on the project as I had hoped to. But we did get the keyways put in, and I got one of the pieces broached. Still need to do the double broach on the other one, and that's going to have to be a project for another day. So anyway, that'll wrap up this episode, and we hope to be back out here soon to finish this up, and I hope to have you guys along with me. Thanks for watching.